Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Caspian and I read a lot of books, mainly library books. And I'm here today for my July wrap-up. So in July I read 6 books and I gave an average rating of 4 stars. So less books than June, a little bit less average for star rating, and that will have its explanation. So I have left space here for the books. Okay, so I DNF'd one book in July, and it was because it wasn't what I thought about, what I thought it was gonna be. And it was The End of Everything by Katie Mack, and I think I thought it would be less academic in its writing style, but it was basically so the book is about 5 different ways the world could end, from an astrophysical point of view, I think it was. And I had seen this on J.D. Ray Reads here on BookTube, and I was intrigued by it. I DNF'd it like a fifth into the book, and that is because I didn't have the energy to read something so academical and boring, to be honest, because so I feel like the author did her best to be funny and comical, and there was like 2 different sides to the book. The first side was that the book started off with telling the entire story of the origin of the universe. And I understand that because it's supposed to be about the end and she wanted to get there, you know. But it was so dry. And the other side of it was that she was trying to be funny, but I felt like I was not the target audience for her book. I felt like I saw the jokes. I recognized the jokes. So, you know, but I didn't find it funny, and especially I didn't find it funny enough to be able to handle all the dry stuff. And I have been in the academic world, so I have gone to university. I have studied on that level. I studied geography and geology, and I have written some. Like I had done some project and written some papers, and you know that sort of. So I've been in that world, and it was like she was trying to write for the masses, but didn't quite get there because there was just not enough to bridge the gap between the academic point of view and her trying to make it understandable for people who isn't educated on that level. And it's like, I'm educated on that level, but I'm not an astrophysicist, and it wasn't enough to have seen a lot of episodes of The Big Bang Theory to really hold out for what I was considering was going to be the important part of the book, the end to everything, the 5 different scenarios. So I gave up. I just thought that it wasn't worth it. And one thing that contributed to me DNFing it was that I had a time frame to read it. I might have gotten through it because I still want to know the 5 different endings, but I only had 2 weeks to read it because there was a waiting list on this book. And that wasn't enough time for me. This was this kind of non-fiction that I want time to be able to absorb and read a little at a time. I could have gotten through it and hopefully enjoyed what I was looking forward to enjoying if I had had the opportunity to and time to read like 10 pages a day until I got there, you know. So I think that was the main issue, that I didn't have enough time. So it was like, okay, I don't have enough time. I can't extend the loan because there's a waiting list. Do I push through just to get to where I want to go? And because I had recently left Addie LaRue behind and just gotten out of that beginning of a reading slump, I was like, no, I'm not risking another reading slump for this book. So I might pick it up again in the future. The concept still intrigues me, but yeah, so I DNF'd that one. And I think it's good to DNF books if you don't enjoy them or you don't feel like there's enough time for it right now, because you can DNF a book for a million different reasons. My rule for myself is that if I don't finish a book, I don't rate the book. So I put in my own notes and my own reading journal that I have tried the book and DNF'd it, and a few notes on why I DNF'd it, or maybe if I pause a book. Not if I pause a book. If I pause a book, then I don't put it in my reading journal if I intend to pick it up again in the future. But if I DNF a book, I simply write down for myself, but I don't share those thoughts on any platform if I haven't gotten through the book. So I haven't rated it or anything like that. I just removed it from my shelves on Goodreads, and if I decide, and also my shelf on Fable and that sort of thing. And if I decide that I want to pick it up again, then I will reshelve it, you know. So the first book that I actually read in July was The Song of Achilles by Madelin Miller. And this is a fantasy and historical fiction. And there's also romance, and it's LGBTQ plus representation. Very, very good. I think it's a very good representation. And it's nice to have representation, you know. So in this book, we follow Achilles, and he is the best of all the Greeks. So he is a half god. His mother is Thetis, and she is some kind of sea. She's a goddess of the sea, and then his dad is Peleus, and he's the king of this world that we are entering. And Patroclus, I think that is his name, Patroclus, it says on Goodreads, he's an awkward young prince exiled from his homeland after an act of shocking violence. Brought together by chance, they forge an inseparable bond, he and Achilles, despite risking the gods' wrath. So, yeah, that's kind of what it is. So, Patroclus is being taken in by Achilles' dad, and Achilles takes him under his wings, sort of, and they form a bond that is basically Achilles being the prince, and Patroclus is also a prince, but he's been exiled, so he's like not very high thought of in that regard, or yeah, in the book. So they are being trained by a centaur or a centaur, I don't know how you pronounce that in English, with the name Chiron, in the arts of war and medicine. And then they have to save Helen of Sparta. That's kind of what the book is about. And in the beginning of I gave this a 4-star rating. I had a hard time getting into the book because of the writing style. I found it a bit over the top and almost like floral. I think the proper name is for that writing style. In the beginning, it was very poetic. I felt like it was, but when I had gotten used to the writing style, I actually enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the story. And just following these young people, and they form this bond. And I actually didn't like Achilles in a lot of the story because he's quite arrogant. But Yeah, I did enjoy the book as a whole. So I gave it a 4-star rating, and I look forward to reading Cersei. So I actually wanted to read Cersei, and then someone told me that it's good to read this first. So that's why I read this. I didn't have very high expectations of it, but I do enjoy retellings of this kind of mythological stories. So it was right up my alley in that sense. Okay, so after Achilles, I went on a little trip with my cousins and I brought the next book that I read in July. I didn't read much in parts of July because I was away on vacation for parts of it and I just didn't have time to read. So when I was going on a vacation with my cousins, I wanted to bring a book from my own shelves because I always have this kind of fear, that I bring a library book several like tens of 20, so like hundreds of kilometers away from home, and then I leave it on like, I don't know, a table or a nightstand or a windowsill or something, where I can't get to it. So I decided to bring a book from home, and it was this one. So this is it's called Bokälskare by Emily Henry. So this is actually Book Lovers. I think it's the English title, and I annotated a little bit. Yeah, quite a lot, but I gave this 3.5 stars. So in this book, we follow Nora Stevens, and she's a literary agent in New York that does everything for her authors, but she also does everything for her little sister Libby. So when Libby asks Nora to come with her to the idyllic small town of Sunshine Falls in North Carolina, she's there, if reluctantly. The plan is that they should have a relaxing sister vacation together, and at the same time, Libby, in secret, is hoping that Nora should become the hero of her own life and not just in others. But instead of cozy picnics and hot meetings with sexy lumberjacks or country doctors, Nora keeps running into Charlie Lastra, and he's a bitter publisher that's also from New York. It might have become cute and romantic if it weren't for the fact that Nora and Charlie already had met a dozen times at home in the city, and it's never been the least bit cute. Yeah, we follow Nora and her and Libby go on this vacation to Sunshine Falls, which is the place in a book. So the entire town's tourism is revolved around being the capital of this book. So they have like different spots in the little town that corresponds to the book, and Libby loves that. And yeah, we follow that vacation and how Nora keeps running into Charlie, and it's kind of a rivals to lovers romance. And this was the least favorite Emily Henry novel I've read so far. This is my third. I have one more. I have Beach Lovers, I think, at home. But I have read three. I have read Happy Place, Funny Story, and this is my third. And this was the least favorite. And I don't really have a lot of things to say, which kind of falls into, me not enjoying it that much. I enjoyed it more towards the end, and there were some good quotes and stuff, I would say. But yeah, it wasn't one of my favorites. And I think that stems from me not vibing with the female main character. I found her like it feels cruel to say uh that I found her like uptight and a bit arrogant and a bit stiff, and because I understand why she is the way she is, that she wanted to excel at what she does. She wanted to get somewhere. She felt this heavy responsibility of taking care of her sister after the mom passed away, and she had this weight on her shoulders that kind of shaped who she is. So I understand her in a way, but I don't have to like her just because I understand her. Kind of like with people in normal life. You can understand where a person's coming from and still dislike them, or still not vibe with them, or still not feel like you want to be friends with them, you know. So I understand where she comes from, but I didn't enjoy her being the female main character. She is not the kind of strong female main character that I enjoy following through a book. And we mainly got her point of view. So I didn't enjoy being in her head that much. And it was just frustrating a lot of the times. It did get a little bit better when she met Charlie and they had their relationship and that evolving, but not enough for me to give it a high rating. It was like they say on the channel Loranda reads, it was a solid read, but nothing more than that. I just love that phrase. It's a solid read, but yeah, that's it. The only thing in this book that I kind of enjoyed was the small town scenery, but that in and of itself didn't really cut it for me to want to reread it. I would have maybe enjoyed following Libby's perspective, maybe even Charlie's perspective, how he saw Nora. That I would have maybe enjoyed. And maybe I would have enjoyed Libby's perspective of trying to get her sister to understand that she can be her own hero and she can do stuff for herself. But being in Nora's mind, not my cup of tea. And that is a thing that can actually make me DNF a book early on or dislike a book very heavily if I don't like the head I'm in. So like I said, I understand where she came from, but that doesn't mean I have to like her. I can sympathize with her, empathize with her, without wanting to be in her head, again. So, thankfully, after that one, I had a better read. It was The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl by Theodora Goss, and this is the third book in the Athena Club series, or The Extraordinary Adventures of the Athena Club. And this was a 5-star prediction for me, and it really delivered. So in this series, we follow Mary Jekyll and the Athena Club, and in the first book, all of the Athena Club with all the monstrous women come together. In the second book, we follow them on a different adventure. They go off to save Lucinda Van Helsing, and then in this book, one of their own is going missing, and they are going to save her when she is the mesmerizing girl. So I really enjoyed this. I give it a 5-star. As I said, it was a 5-star prediction, and I just thoroughly enjoy these books. It's a historical fantasy, I would say. So I really enjoy just the found family aspect and yeah, just seeing all of these monstrous women looking out for each other, the relationships between each other. The author is really good at giving every single person a very extraordinary and like outstanding personality that really separates them from each other. So it's very easy to get to know them. In other books, you might feel like people are the same person. Like different people are the same person. They're just wearing the different jackets or something. But in this book, they really are different personalities, and through these 3 books, I have gotten to know all of them, and I like all of them. In the beginning, I had a hard time with some of them, and then it's like I'm a part of the family now. That's the way I feel when I read these books. So these books are on my Villhöver-lista, which is a list with the books that I need because I want them. I need them in my life. I need them. I need to reread them and go on these adventures again. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. So wonderful to have. That was my first 5 star of July. And after that one, I read The Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore, which is the fourth book in the Dream Harbor series. And this was also like a high rating prediction of mine because I enjoy this series. I just enjoy the small town vibe. I enjoy overall I enjoy series where we get to follow different people. Like you get to know the entire little small town within a series. And I enjoy this more than I enjoyed it as much as I thought when it first came out. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would after reading what other people thought about it. Uh, Reading it myself, I realized that yeah, this is just up my alley. This is just the vibe I'm going for. I enjoy this book. So I gave it a 4.5 stars. So in this book we follow Archer. He's a single dad and he's moving to this small town because his daughter lives there. So the daughter is a part of Dream Harbor, the small town that's in this book, and her mother has passed away. So Archer finds out that he's a dad to this 5-year-old girl. So he comes to live in Dream Harbor to get to know his little girl so that she can be close to her grandmother that can take care of her, so otherwise she would have. And he becomes a part of Dream Harbor, finds his place there throughout the book, and of course there's a romance involved in the story. So I was hesitant when I found out it was going to be a single dad trope. I'm not fond of those. But I think the thing I'm actually not fond of is when the child takes up so much space in such a way that it makes the romance not enjoyable. You know, having kids in books can be a real turn off when you're reading a romance. I don't enjoy kids in romance books. That's why I rarely like the single dad trope. It's not that he's a single dad that I don't like. It's that it's the child. You know, children don't belong in romance books, in my opinion. But this little girl didn't take up that much space in that capacity. She wasn't present when the romance went forward. Like the author did a good job at kind of compartmentalize that in a way. At least for me, it worked for me. So she was there. She was probably adorable and cute and all that, but it wasn't about her. It was about her in the capacity that yeah, her mom passed away. Of course, she has a hard time accepting her new dad in the beginning, and we get to follow him trying to bond with his daughter, and the romance is with his nanny, of course. But it was like we got to follow the child and the dad's relationship, and then the nanny's and the child's relationship, and those two took the forefront of the story long enough before the romance took place. So it was like somewhere there was a like a transition into the romance taking the biggest part of the book. So I think the author did a good job there, in my opinion, at least. So I will definitely read the next book. I can't believe there's a bit she has released or is gonna release a fifth book. But I'm gonna eat that up, I'm sure. It's I think it's called the Gingerbread House or something like that. This is a typical example of a series that I can reread year after year. I love that this series has like this, it's attached to different seasons. So there's like a pumpkin spice one, there's a cinnamon bun one, there's apparently a gingerbread one, there's a uh, Christmas tree one. So there's like different seasons, and the Strawberry Patch Pancake House is like a spring summer kind of book. So that is one thing I really enjoy, and I can see myself rereading these. And the spice level of these books are just right for me. They are spicy, but they are not overly kinky. There's not like anything over exaggerated or something that you need to be into to read these books. There's just people falling in love, discovering each other, and having fun while doing so, being expressive while doing so, and still have different tastes and opinions. And there's always this matter of consent. So they are really good written in that aspect. This is absolutely books that I would, uh, if I had a teenager in my life that wanted to go into reading romance books, I would probably give them one of these, because I would be confident that these books don't teach them something that isn't okay. So the next book I read in July was The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, and with the translator Steven Snyder. So this is translated into English from Japanese, and ordinarily I would have liked to read this in Swedish, like a Swedish translation instead, because it feels it feels kind of weird that I read a translated book translated into a language that isn't my first language. But what you gonna do? I don't think it was available in Swedish. So The Memory Police is it's a dystopian novel. It is science fiction, I think. And it's basically about this island where things vanish, and when they vanish, people's memories of it vanishes, and people can vanish as well. Mostly people seem to vanish when they are unable to get rid of memories. You find that out. So we follow the narrator in this book, that is a young woman, and she has lost both her parents, and so she lives in this neighborhood on this island where she has one elderly man that she regularly engages with. Like he's a friend of the family, and he's like the only friend she has left. So she visits him on his boat every day. She's an author, so we follow her writing a story in this book. So it's a kind of double layered. We follow her, and then she expresses her fears about the decline of the society in her own writing, and we follow that in different chapters. So it can be like a whole chapter being an excerpt from her book that she's writing within the book. And then she has an editor in the book that helps her with her book. So it's kind of intricate in that way. And to be honest, I gave this. So this book is about like what a society looks like when it's really controlled by the government. But yeah, and it says like this: on an unnamed island off an unnamed coast, objects are disappearing. First hats, then ribbons, then birds, then roses, until things become much more serious. Most of the island's inhabitants are oblivious to these changes, while those few imbued with the power to recall the lost objects live in the fear of a draconian memory police, who are committed to ensuring that what has disappeared remains forgotten. So I wouldn't say that they are oblivious to the changes. I think they are. Maybe I don't really have an understanding of the word oblivious, but to my understanding, the people in the book they're just used to, and it's just a part of how they are programmed in a way to forget things when they are like objects, when they are disappearing. And it's like when fruits disappear and roses disappear, they have to engage in the act of removing it from their lives. And then there are people that, like I said, are imbued with the power to recall the lost objects. And these people they hold on to these objects, and they don't engage in the act of making them disappear. They don't burn the books. They don't they don't stop calling a bird, you know. So it's a bit misleading, I think, this description on Goodreads from what the book is actually, how I actually experienced the book. So it says, a surreal, provocative fable about the power of memory and the trauma of loss. The Memory Police is a stunning new work from one of the most exciting contemporary authors writing in any language. So this book was, I did not like the prose. I did not like the writing style in this book. I didn't enjoy it that much. I read this book with a book club on Fable called The Well-Read Book Club by Caroline Marie Reeds that I have mentioned several times on this channel. And I enjoyed discussing it with other people. And I enjoyed seeing other people that had the exact same opinions that I had. And so that was the fun part for me. If I would have read this on my own, I would have DNF'd it a third way through at the most. It was quite short, 270 pages, so it didn't take me more than, it took me quite a while to get through actually, but it took me kind like maybe 8 days, 10 days or something, because I didn't enjoy it. I gave it a 2.5 stars. So this is the book that pulled down my average rating for this month because I didn't enjoy it. I don't want to say I hated it. I would have given it a lower rating than that. I think it was interesting and perhaps important as a contribution to the societal discussion of what happens when we are being monitored by like the memory police and other governmental bodies, and what happens when people just accept the reality that they are living in instead of fighting back, and what happens to the people that tries to fight back, and that sort of thing. So it was important and interesting, and I want to say I'm happy I read it, but at the same time, I don't think it would have been a loss if I never read it. So I'm kind of on the fence on that one, and that's why I gave it a 2.5 star rating in my own reading journal, but I gave it a 2 star rating on Goodreads because there were so many loose threads, and I don't enjoy that. And I think the author did all of the readers a disservice with not explaining things. My thought is that maybe there weren't explanations of how the world building worked because the people in it didn't understand and didn't get the information. So it was like we were in the head of the narrator that was living in on this island, and we followed her, and we got to know exactly as much as she knew, but that made it very confusing at times, and I wanted to know more, like following the narrator, but also having like maybe a background story at the beginning so that we could understand how things were connected. So yeah, I would have liked some more context and some stronger world building in the sense of me knowing about it. I'm sure it was strong in the head of the author, but it didn't come across, uh, enough of it didn't come across to, like, wasn't relayed to me as a reader. So I was disappointed. I was looking forward to this very much. After this one, I read the last book that I read in July, which was A Discovery of Witches. A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness is the first book in the All Souls series. I don't know how many books there are in the series. So I actually found out about this book because there's a series on Netflix called The Discovery of Witches, and it said that it was based on the novel Spy. And I was like, oh, there's a book. I want to read the book first. So that's kind of how I got into it. And they had it at my library, so I borrowed it. So in this book, there are 4 different species. There are vampires, demons, witches, and humans. And we follow Diana. She's a witch. We also follow another person. He's a vampire. And then there are demons. We don't really follow a human, I think. But there are humans in the book. And in this book, everyone is searching for another book. A book within the book that is supposed to hold the key to all of these species' origin. Like the purpose of them, do they have a common ancestor or not? How were they made? Why are they? Basically. So there's kind of there's a truce between the species at the moment, but when Diana accidentally finds this book, breaks the spell on the book, and then it disappears again. She kind of awaken the conflict between the species. And then in the rest of the book, we follow her trying to find the book together with this vampire that also want to find the book. And we also follow their aspiring romance. So the romance between the witch and the vampire. Which are not allowed to be. So they are not allowed to have a relationship. Somewhere along the line, in the past, uh, these three non-human species, I don't remember what they call themselves, but the demons, vampires, and witches, they have like gotten, they have agreed to some rules, and one of the rules are no mixing the species. So and Diana doesn't know about this because she's not really into witchy stuff. She left that behind her. She tries to kind of deny her witchy side since her parents died. So in this book, we follow her and her personal development, how she explores her gifts because she has to, and we also follow her relationship with this vampire. I gave this book 4.5 stars because I did enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the female main character in the beginning, but she kind of grew on me. The thing is, I visualize her in one way, and then when they talk about her, she looks a completely different way. And I am trying to marry my view of what I think she looks like from her personality and what, like, yeah, my image of her in my head, and the description of her from the vampire's point of view. And it's just something that I feel like, why does she have to look like that? Why can't she just be like in the book? She's like this thin blonde woman, and I'm like, but it feels like she should look another way. I don't know. She just looks another way in my head. So it's gonna be interesting when I one day watch the Netflix series. So I always feel it's hard to talk about books on a larger scale when they are there's so many things happening as it is in a discovery of witches. But I am looking forward to the next book. I am not very fond of the female main character. She has grew on me. I do enjoy the male main character, and he's so toxic. He's so toxic, but he knows it, and he's trying not to be it. I don't know. I don't know what I feel about that. That was the last book that I read in July, or the last book that I finished in July. I hope you enjoy your reading. I really do my best to enjoy reading myself, and I wish you a lovely end of summer. Tjingeling!